overrated and abused, but never actually used. And that's what I actually think about the term personalization in the context of hospitality. Because so many hotel operators talk about it and have started talking about it. However, hospitality still remains the global master of commoditization. And here, in my opinion, lies the problem. We talk about personalization only when it comes to deliver a good service to those in-house guests. In other words, we start personalizing only when we already have the guest. But can we use personalization as a marketing weapon to turn prospects into bookers? The concept of dynamic content has been around for a few years now, yet it's far from being the number one thing people and hotel operators focus the most in their hotel market. But considering that nowadays these tools cost very little money and are so easy to implement, it's likely that it will become a buzzword in the hospitality industry. However, at this present day, there is still a lot of confusion in terms of what can we do and how can hotels leverage these tools. And so in this video, we're going to see together 5 different ways we can use dynamic content to generate and to provide users, customers, visitors with more contextualized information and to turn more prospects into bookers. These and more coming up, so let's dig in. Number 1, new versus returning visitors. And this is probably the easiest one. In recent years, we talk a lot about how the typical hotel funnel now involves multiple visits to our direct channels, being at the website or our social media channels. Put another way, visitors visit at our website more than once before turning into bookers. A first-time visitor is likely in his or her discovery mode, meaning he's just looking around trying to gather information, whilst returning visitors, for the very simple fact that he's returning, is likely closer to taking action. So why not adapting our messages, our website, or pieces of our sections on our website to better reflect whether we are dealing with a new versus a returning visitor? And it can be something super simple like a welcome message for a new visitor as opposed to a welcome back message for a returning visitor. In fact, playing with dynamic content doesn't have to be difficult nor time consuming. And if you think that setting up something like this may be very difficult or very complicated, well, just consider that nowadays there are tools that allow you to do that in few minutes with no technical knowledge. And of course, that depends on the tool that you're using, but there are also CMS like HubSpot, for example, that come already with this feature embedded for all their clients. Example number 2, discount code in retargeting only. And so we just talked about returning visitors more likely being closer to taking action, aka making a booking. And so opposite to it, a new visitors is gonna be quite bothered by all of these call to action like promotions, discount, simply because it's not there yet, it's not yet ready to take that kind of action. And so we can wait for people to come back organically or with a proper structure, and more importantly, a proper strategy, we can turn on some retargeting campaign in an attempt to get those back on our website. Via Google, via Facebook, via email, it doesn't really matter the channel. But for example, we can create a discount code that is only available for people clicking on our retargeting ad. It's a simple condition. If a user comes from that specific retargeting ad on Google, on Facebook or whatsoever, then we show that specific call to action, which will include more likely a discount code, a promotion code, or whatever that is. This way you avoid exposing too much your discounts to too many people, not relevant people, and also eventually to the OTA market manager who may potentially hurt your OTA ranking. And secondly, you are simply making your retargeting campaign more effective because you are offering a valid and tangible reasons for people to come back. Example number 3, search ads in Google Ads. It's all about giving people what they want and what they're looking for, and therefore what they're searching on Google, for example. So let's see an example. It can be a luxury hotel with a rooftop pool. And so possible strategies that the hotel decides to bid on Google Ads towards a keyword related to luxury hotel in city town and a rooftop pool hotel in city town. 2 different keywords, 2 different intentions. Yet the hotel doesn't have 2 different landing pages because with the only exception of these 2 differentiations, so luxury on one side and rooftop pool on the other side, Everything else in terms of content of the landing page will be pretty much the same. So no need to create two different landing pages, yet we want to differentiate the landing page in a way to reflect what people had searched. Someone searching for hotel with a pool or rooftop pool hotel in city or town is telling us something very specific. I want a hotel with a rooftop pool. Simple as that. And so pool in that sense is more important than luxury. So the content, the description, the headlines, even the images and pictures that I should see in the landing page should be related to what I'm looking for, a hotel with a rooftop pool. And so here dynamic content can help us dynamically change, for example, the hero image, the main title or the subtitle to better reflect what I was looking for. You can set these all up by being specific on certain campaigns or certain ad groups or even certain keywords. You see, there are no limitations. It's just about you, how you want to set your strategy up. Example number 4. Show reviews in the visitor's language. Nowadays, everyone speaks English, which is true because everyone, or more or less everyone, speaks English. However, to a certain extent, how much more would you relate to a website when this website can speak and talk to you in your own language? And yet you don't have to translate the whole website. You can simply leverage the number one UGC, user-generated content tool at your disposal, meaning your customer reviews. Most of your past customers, no matter where they come from, had spent at least one word or two to describe and to review your hotel. More likely they had done so in their own language. This is beautiful content that you can make use of, and you can filter. Just collect those reviews by languages, of course, by the languages of where your main visitors come from, so that you can use them on your website accordingly. Now, this is not just about mere translation. Language is a reflection of our culture. For example, in my eyes as an Italian individual, I'll more likely relate much more to an Italian review as opposed to a Russian, Chinese or Japanese review, because that individual who left the review in my own language is not just about giving me something in my own language, but is more likely very similar to me in terms of habits, needs and wishes. All you need to do is just to collect them every now and then, eventually change them. And again, no matter the available languages on your side, here we're just talking about a review section. Last one, number 5, create promotions in specific countries. Now, most hotel operators already offer geo-targeted promotions, offer discounts through the OTAs. So why not doing that also on our side? It works very similarly to the previous example with the languages. Every single user lands on a website with an IP address attached. This is simply how internet works. And the language, as much as the country where the IP comes from, is part of the IP address, technically called a metadata. And we can read that so that we can make use and take advantage of these metadata. For example, you can create a specific section on your website or a banner or specific call to actions depending on where the user comes from. All you need to do then is to link the promotion on the website to the booking engine. But as long as the booking engine allows you to manage deep links through which you can show only specific rates, offers, packages to the user, then that's all that you need. And this is it for today. But if you ask me, okay, which one of these works best? It's going to be quite difficult because that really depends on each and every situation, each and every hotel. The only thing that I can say is that there is no dynamic tool that is going to do any magic if you don't contextualize the tool into your own strategy. No strategy, no revenue, simple as that. But just to give you an example, the discount code in retargeting only, this is pretty much, I think, my favorite tactic, and I've been using it for quite a while now, and typically I convert twice as much at half the cost of acquisition as opposed to a standard retargeting campaign, no matter the channel, by the way. Which to me is no surprise, simply because, as I always say, the number one metric, the number one thing we should always be considering when writing and publishing our messages through advertising is always relevance. The more relevant you manage to be in front of each and every individual who are considering your hotel as a possible solution, the more revenue you're going to generate. Easy peasy.